Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our latest episode of Real Take Real Estate with the Joseph team, where we give you our real take on everything with the real estate and housing market. I'm your host, Maddie Maloney, joined by my co-hosts,
Sam Feda,
Joe Sambear.
Today, we are super excited to have another guest on our podcast. Jason, thank you so much for coming today.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So Jason Murton, MBA, is the proprietor of Accurate Inspections, LLC, holding an MBA from Michigan State University. Jason currently serves as the president of the Examination Board of Professional Home Inspectors, also known as EBPHI, which is committed to advancing the home inspection profession by administering the National Home Inspections Examination, a crucial test for licensure in 37 states. Based in DeWitt, Michigan, Accurate Inspections, LLC has been a trusted name in the home inspection since 1985. With a team of 13 inspectors covering most of Michigan, Accurate also operates subsidiaries like Accurate Radon Testing, Accurate Well and Septic, and Accurate Drain Scoping, offering comprehensive real estate inspection services. Jason runs Accurate alongside his wife, Selena, with whom he shares a passion for their hobby farm and renovating old homes. They are proud parents of their two sons, Chandler and Lincoln. Drawing from his extensive experience, Jason has personally conducted over 20,000 home inspections. Additionally, he holds license as a builder and pesticide applicator in the state of Michigan. Jason, thank you so much. We are so excited to have you on the podcast to really talk about the inspection process. You obviously have some extensive knowledge and experience in this area, so we are so glad to have you with us.
Thank you.
So could you start off by just telling us a little bit of how you got into the inspection business and, kind of what you love about it?
I kind of had a little different route. Upon getting my undergrad degree, I was in the oil industry and moved back to Michigan and was working in retail oil, but my passion, I quickly learned, was owning homes. I bought my first home as a freshman in college. Couldn't stand the dorm life. It just wasn't for me. Too many guys coming in and out of my room all the time. And so I bought a duplex and had a great experience owning that duplex as a college student. So when I moved back to Michigan and was doing the oil thing and bought another duplex and another rental property, I found that I really enjoyed houses. I did not know that home inspection was a career at that point, but house restoration and owning real estate was something that I really enjoyed. And so I was flipping houses and working in corporate America, but was not happy with my corporate gig. A local real estate agent here, who is now retired, Concetta D'Agostino, give her props, was my real estate agent that I'd buy and sell properties with. And her husband, Les Van Alstyne, was a home inspector. And I had bought several with her and had no idea that's what he had done. And happened to meet him at a customer appreciation fall party that she'd have every year. And she had talked to him about me and what I was doing and my interests, and he had a need for a home inspector. And so he talked to me there and said, "Hey, I've heard a lot about you. Concetta thinks you might be good at this, and I think there could be an opportunity for you in this. Why don't you come ride around me, see what you think?" So I took a day off of work and rode around with him and was just like, wow, you mean I can make a living looking at houses every day and telling people about houses? This is really a thing. And he goes, yeah, you can make a real good living. So I discussed it with my then wife and decided, okay, I'm going to make this jump, refinance my home so I had some cash to survive on, and quit the corporate job and started training with him. And after several months riding around with him, I was doing side jobs, and I had my builder's license already at that time, and was doing remodeling for people for pay, and started in the home inspection industry. could not quite make ends meet just doing home inspections. Hard to get out there, get your name out there, get that clientele base. So I continued to do both for about 3 years, and was then building spec houses and had a crew working for me doing all kinds of remodeling and building projects and doing inspections on the side. And he sat me down one day and he said, "You got to make a decision." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Do you want to do home inspections or do you want to build houses?" So I don't want to build houses. I mean, this is hard on the body and, the employee issues and whatnot. Oh, I want to do home inspections, but I don't have enough business. He said, "Well, if you market yourself to these agents and to these potential clients with the effort that you're putting into bidding on these other jobs, you won't have to build houses anymore." And I said, "Are you sure?" He says, "Trust me, I got you into this. You can do this." I turned over my building business over to my supervisor at the time, and within a week, he was right. I was busy, and I had all the clientele I could take and build it from there. And then, oh gosh, I don't know what it'd be, 15, 18 years later, I bought the business from Les, and he retired. And I've grown it from there to have all the inspectors that we have and all the other services that we have, and so that's kind of my story, how I got to where I am now.
A little different, but I feel like when you talk with people in real estate, usually their first thing that they wanted to do right out of college or when they were growing up, it wasn't that they wanted to go into real estate. It's just that they found their passion and their love in real estate once they bought their first home or once they talked with an advisor, which I think is really cool, because I never saw myself in real estate until I kind of happened to get into banking, started talking with Joe and Sam, bought my first home, loved it, and then wanted to help people else buy their home. And I just think it's so awesome. So thank you for sharing your story. It really is awesome what you have turned Accurate Inspections into. You guys are one of the biggest and most trusted inspection companies in the area. So thank you for that history there. Now, going into the home inspection process, now I would say this is probably the most important process when buying a home, because this is, up front, this is going to tell you, is this a good investment or not, So can you tell us, for any of the first-time home buyers that maybe don't know, what the inspection process looks like, what's the difference between an inspection and an appraisal? Can you tell us a little bit about what that looks like, what you do when you go into a home? Yeah,
there's often a misconception, particularly people who are buying with an FHA or a VA loan, that because they have a FHA appraisal, that is an inspection. And then you understand it's not. The appraisal is there to value the property, and that's it. If it's an FHA or VA appraisal, yes, there may be some safety concerns that the FHA or VA appraisal are focused on, but they're just small safety concerns. They're not looking at the big picture. They're comparing that home to others of similar size in similar area and just determine a value. An inspector is a third-party individual. My spiel when I meet a customer is I work for them, only for them. I care not whether they buy the house. I only care that they understand what they may be buying, and that's it. I want them to know what they may be buying so they can make an educated decision about that purchase. It's often the biggest purchase they ever make in their life. Hopefully they make a couple of them of that in their life, but it's their first huge purchase, so it's very, very important. We're not there to nitpick the house, particularly a used house. We need to understand that it's used, it's been lived in. No houses are perfect, even brand new houses. But we're there to give a big, broad picture of what's going on with that property. From walking the roof and telling them what the life expectancy of that shingle is going to be, to crawling through the crawl space and telling them how that structure is doing. Is it performing as intended? We'll test all the fixtures in the house. We'll run a lot of water. We'll be flicking all the lights on and off. We'll be crawling through the attic, checking on their insulation, making sure things are ventilated well, and seeing how all those systems work together. And that's an important part of it. A lot of people think, oh, I want to save money. I'm going to have my Uncle Larry come. He's a carpenter or he's a plumber, or my dad, he's bought 2 houses in his life. He can look at this for me. They really don't have the eye to understand how all those systems work together. plumbers know plumbing. They don't necessarily know framing. Framers don't know plumbing. It goes both ways. And so a good inspector, the industry likes to call us generalists. I prefer an inspector who is an expert at all those fields, not a generalist, someone who can tell you everything about that furnace, what its life expectancy is it operating, does it need service, what they can expect from that furnace, not to refer to another expert to come look at this. That's a problem we have in the industry right now is lots of inspectors are scared of getting sued. So instead of telling you about the house, they say, this is what it is, but let's get a roofer out here to look at the roof. Let's get a foundation expert to look at the foundation. Let's get, and that's not what you're paying them for. You're paying them for their firm opinion on what that is and what it's going to do and how it needs to perform.
Not just to give you referrals for other people to come.
Correct, exactly.
We do get that a lot, Jason, with my parent or my, he knows a builder. And, what we try to nicely say is that's correct. They know how to build a home and I'm sure they're very skilled at that. But I think the point is, you've looked at 20,000 homes.
Exactly.
So you can see patterns of, I can see that I've seen this before. This is really not an issue, or it is a big issue. And a lot of times what will happen is when a parent or builder, friend comes, they'll point out something that it's kind of outside their specialty and say, well, that's really a big concern. And so now you're not getting that overall, that is a problem.
In this market particularly, I keep preaching perspective. With fewer people going into the trades, with younger people that are coming into the trades having limited knowledge, perspective is everything, particularly when we have used homes. We have a lot of tradespeople that don't understand old homes at all. Their experience is so limited in them that they see something that's not modern, not what we'll call code compliant to today's standards, and not understand how it was done. And a lot of things that were done back then were done very well. They're craftsmen. We see these houses last far longer than today's houses will last, not because things were better then. The materials were better. The wood wasn't force grown. It was older trees. We took time when manipulating a 2x4 into a wall versus just pounding it together and putting it up. So the young tradespeople don't always understand that and don't have a perspective that they're seeing a house that may have a crack in the foundation, but it's 120 years old.
Yeah.
And that crack's been there for 118 years.
Right.
It's rock solid.
Exactly.
It's not going anywhere.
But then the foundation guy comes in and says, oh, this got a crack and it's moved half an inch in 120 years. And a lot of people, they don't have that perspective. The code will allow us to have so much deflection in a brand new house. That deflection happens to be a half an inch that we can have in a 20-foot span. But that other contractor will come in and say, there's a half an inch, this is moving. Well, no, it was that way when it was built. Got to have perspective. And we don't always teach that. My industry is guilty of that. Our inspector schools, I'm not a big fan of the schools, aren't able to teach that because unless you're out in the field, you just don't have that perspective. And
you
so
need that mentorship.
You need that mentorship.
And the hands-on experience, especially in this field, because every home that you go into is going to be different. No home is going to be, exactly the same. So definitely super important.
You brought up new construction. That was one of my other comments. Sometimes that is a little more struggle of, to get a home inspection or not to get a home inspection. I mean, obviously, it seems to me there's always value, period, and a story. But what's your thoughts on the new construction? Like it was just built. It's an end loan. What's your thoughts on that?
I will often find more wrong with a new home, particularly from the production builders, I won't name names, than I do with existing homes. First, it hasn't been lived in and well tested, okay? People forget that new home, that plumber may test the lines, okay, under pressure for 2-3 minutes, pass their test, gets their sticker, and then everything's turned back off. We hook up the fixtures, they get turned on and off, and then they're turned off. So if I'm there doing the inspection, I'm running that water for half an hour at each of those fixtures all at the same time. That's never been done in that house. When it's been lived in, some of those things have been done. They've been tested, they've been tried. I tell a story, and it's 2 different houses by a builder who thankfully is no longer with us, but on new homes that I got up into the attic. One had been lived in for a year, and then I was inspecting it for a new owner, and it had no insulation in the attic.
Wow.
That's unbelievable.
The selling agent called the builder immediately, and the builder got on the phone with me, and I've got the receipt right here where I paid for insulation in that home. And I said, I don't deny that you may have paid for insulation in that home, but they didn't put any insulation in this home. He says, but we've got an occupancy permit. Well, the local code inspector does not necessarily stick their head up in that attic to see that you put insulation in that home. You know, I had 2 of his homes, and how many did I not get to see that didn't have any insulation in it, and they didn't know. You know, it's just one of those things. Similar story, very good, well-known builder here in the area who's still building, had a similar situation where they missed a section of the attic. It was a very complicated truss system, back corner, easy to miss, see how it happened. These people had lived there 10 years, and I'm inspecting their house, and like, you cold in the kitchen? He's like, yeah, the kitchen's always cold. You have no insulation over your kitchen, you know, and they were surprised. That builder came the next day, 10 years later, and put insulation in their attic. So
That's a
that was
good builder there.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
good builder.
Are most of the new construction issues fixable? I mean, are they usually
Always.
something that can, so it's
Always.
definitely a
Yeah.
good thing to do.
Yeah,
then.
always good thing to do. Builders don't like us there
I can imagine.
because we're always adding to their punch
The
list.
last stop.
Yep.
Yep.
But a couple local builders, and again, I won't mention names, but kudos to them, are actually employing us now to do
nice.
their pre-sale inspections, just so their I's are dotted, their T's are crossed. We're also doing warranty inspections. State of Michigan requires 1-year warranty on new construction. A lot of builders hope that 1 year passes and they don't get a call from the homeowner. We used to do a ton prior to the crash for a lot of the big builders where we would go out and do these 10, 11-month warranties, create that checklist for the builder, for the homeowner, so they could get those things addressed. We've got 2 local builders that are now doing that again, and that's good to see. It's good customer, it's good quality control, it's good customer
Yes.
service.
That's great. So I love how we hit on, even if you have a new construction, new build, you should always get an inspection.
Always get an inspection.
And we always say, always, always, always get an inspection. We have seen in this hot market that people, you know, try to take little shortcuts. They're like, oh, I want to make my offer stronger. I'm going to waive the inspection. You know, oh, it looks like it was just recently updated. I don't need an inspection. And when I hear that, oh my gosh, I'm like, are you sure? I think we should just get an inspection. Like, you know, you never know what's going on. Like, yes, maybe everything looks, you know, new appliances, maybe they just got a new heater or something, but we really want to check everything out. And then, you know, maybe I think we've had before where an appraiser comes out and they're like, oh yeah, no, like there's this other issue. And we know that if an inspector went out, they most likely would have seen so many other things. So, you know, I'm assuming, you know, that's your opinion as well. Always, always, always get an inspection, no matter what the condition of the home is going to be.
Exactly. And some agents are doing inspections because they feel that way for informational purposes only. And always advise that. If it's that competitive, still get it inspected so you know what you're buying. The Grand Rapids market is particularly tough right now. Agents won't even accept offers that have inspection contingencies. So what we've been doing there is doing an inspection pre-offer. So we're going during the showing and inspecting the home for them. So they know what they're fully looking at before they make the offer. And I hope that the whole industry doesn't go to that. That's just not the way, it doesn't work well that way. But in this market, it's the best they can do so that they know what they may be buying.
Definitely. So we've gone over, you know, why you should always have an inspection before purchasing. I would say there's only like one situation where I would ever, you know, say, okay, maybe we don't need an inspection. And that's if someone was looking to buy the house beforehand and they had an inspection done. And maybe it was like a cosmetic issue or something that the offer fell through, but we know there's a solid inspection. maybe at that point, if you have an inspection, you wouldn't need another one, but still, I think we would always recommend still get another third-party opinion. I don't think you would ever regret having another inspection on the home.
Things can change. I mentioned the one that earlier before we started that I did yesterday. Our company inspected it a year ago, and they could have said, "Oh, well, it was inspected a year ago. Let's go." Well, they didn't do half the stuff we recommended that they do, and it had a crawl space. And had we not inspected again, they wouldn't have found that stuff out. Things change, and depending on who did the other inspection, the state of Michigan doesn't have licensure for home inspectors, so anyone can do a home inspection, and there's a lot of anyone's out there. There are national accreditations, but some mean more than others. You really got to do your research on what it means to be a certified whatever they're claiming. When my secretary can pass that certification exam and knows little to nothing about inspections, just knows how to schedule them, is that truly a certified program? We need something with some teeth in it to show that they have ability.
What would that look like, Jason? Like, what should a consumer kind of look? I mean, obviously they'll get a recommendation.
I'm biased, and I would tell you they need to be an ASHI certified home inspector, and that's American Society of Home Inspectors. And there's other organizations out there that claim similar prominence, but have they taken a third-party exam, a high-stakes examination that proves their ability to understand all these systems, okay? Not a pay-to-play certification. I give you a couple $1,000 and now I'm certified. What does that mean?
So making sure to ask these questions. Your realtor is always going to have someone that they recommend and that maybe they are always available and super quick and can do it next day, but maybe that's not always the best. Maybe you got to ask a little bit more questions and, see what qualifications do you have? Do you have that, what was it? The National
Society of Home Inspectors.
Yes. Do you have that qualification, that certification? So it's okay to continue to ask those questions. We've talked about it with when you're trying to figure out who your realtor is going to be, who your lender is going to be. It's okay to not just go with, who your family friend recommends or who your realtor recommends. You got to ask those questions, especially in a tough market like this, because you need the best people backing you up in order to get into a home that you want and in order to set yourself up for success in the future and that you're not going to regret buying this home down the road. So that's what all of our jobs combined are helping you with, is setting you up for success to be a successful homeowner, not just for a year or 2 years, but for a lifetime, and that you know exactly what you're getting into.
Yes.
So another thing that I wanted to get into that we are seeing as a trend in this market is home flippers. So we have good home flippers. Jason, you had mentioned yourself that you and your wife love getting into old homes and renovating them. And I know that you guys have the qualifications, but we also have some other people that are trying to do a quick flip in this area because the market is so hot. So I'm sure that you have seen some home flips at this point. What would you say are signs that home buyers can look for in a home to kind of tell, this may not have been the best home flip. I got to look into this a little bit more. Maybe this isn't going to be a good home for me.
A good analogy may be a cake. If it's got pretty frosting, okay, you need to take a slice and see what's inside.
Yeah.
I always preach to my realtors that I see a lot that if you've got a client that's flipping, have us come look at it before you put it on the market, because they always do the shiny, pretty things that are going to get people excited about it, and they forget about the important things, like the insulation in the attic, like the age of the furnace, the important things, the condition of the foundation. Those aren't sexy. They don't sell a house. The kitchen and the bathroom and the pretty paint and the new flooring, that sells a house. But some of those things, most of those things are cheap and easy to take care of. It's the big things that they don't take care of, and those are the things that matter. And so
Definitely.
we need to look at those big picture things, the furnace, the air conditioner, the insulation.
What would you say about the condition of some of the homes going on the market right now? Like, are most of them typically good home flips? Do we have a lot of kind of crappy home flips on the market?
Yes, we do have home flips. That's the best way to put it. Yeah. Yes, we do. We have a lot of flippers that are choosing not to get permits, and so it's unpermitted work. It's often done by themselves or unqualified contractors. The funny one that I always see, everyone loves their luxury vinyl plank right now. Good product, lots of good stuff to say about luxury vinyl plank. But you know when the homeowner installed it just by the stagger on the seams, and you walk in and see that, or they haven't undercut the trim, and so there's gaps at all the trim because they cut it short and then they didn't quarter around to cover it. I mean, just little tiny detail things that are going to lead to poor workmanship in the bigger things that really matter. So, yeah.
So if you see that, it's not always that it's going to be a dead end. That doesn't mean like, oh, nope, can't do this home. Looks like the homeowner did it.
Yep.
It may still be a good home, but that's why we still get the inspections.
Yep,
that like, okay,
right.
Yes, this looks really pretty. I love this kitchen. I love the color. I love the vanity, everything that they did with it. But all right, I may need to redo the roof in the next 5 years. I'm probably going to need to get a new furnace. So, that might be feasible and attainable for you if that's going to work with what, your plan is set out. But it's just so good to know that and to know what to expect coming up. Like, okay, maybe I should get a home warranty when I'm buying this home just in case, so I don't have to worry about that. So just super, super important. Even if you love the home, it looks like everything is renovated, maybe a red flag should be going off as well then. So thank you, Jason, for that insight.
Is there certain things you when, especially a first-time home buyer, that you complete the report? I mean, obviously you're just presenting at what it is and your opinion on it, but is there certain things, just advice over the years of doing this, if it's like, okay, this is something you walk away from, or this is something to consider, like this is very serious, like it would prompt me to consider walking away from this transaction?
I hate it when that happens, but I'll have several of those a year.
Yeah.
Where and several doesn't sound like a lot. Everything's always fixable, and we have to have perspective. And when I'm mentoring and training my new inspectors, I always have to remind them, this house may not be something you would buy, but you aren't living in their shoes. You don't know what their situation is. This may be the best thing they can ever afford. So you need to inform them what this is and what it's going to look like in the future so they can plan and make that decision themselves. We can't. I mean, the worst thing an inspector can say, and I had 2 competitors last week, I got calls later, said, I wouldn't buy this house. That's not their place to say that.
Right, sure.
I get asked all the time, would I buy that house? And I have to tell them, well, that's not a fair question. I'm not in your situation, and sometimes, depending on the situation, I may turn it. Would I allow my sons to buy this house? Well, I may, but understand, I'm a builder.
Right.
They've got these skills. If you've got someone that can help you with this stuff, then yeah, it's a perfect house for you. If you don't, then maybe it's not. Maybe a condo is a better suit for you if you don't have the skills to take care of the lawn and the exterior maintenance and whatnot.
Yeah, that's great. I do have one question for you, Jason. You mentioned you didn't love the inspector schools. Is there like a period of time you require to have mentorship for your newer staff, just so there's always going to be someone well qualified we're hiring?
Each individual, for me personally, my requirement before I'll even spend any time mentoring anyone, training anyone, because every week I get people coming to me and say, I want to be an inspector. And I'll sit them down, I'll talk to them, I'll tell them what it's all about. But if they don't have a builder's license, I tell them the first step for me is you need to prove to me that you can attain that license. You need to study, you need to do the schooling, get the education, show me that you've got that dedication and that base.
That's good.
Once you have that base, then I'm willing to start spending time.
Okay.
I don't charge these people. I don't have a training school. I give them my time to hopefully train them, and hopefully they'll become something, and then hopefully maybe work with me. Some work out, some don't.
Yeah.
But I found that making them do that builder's license has weeded out and kept me from spending a lot of time with people maybe that weren't going to work out.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. So you always know that someone's going to be well qualified because they've got a great mentor when you hire your team.
And I've had some guys not work out that did that part, but personality is so important.
Oh yeah,
I
that's huge.
I can't train personality. They either are people or not. And you can have a very good inspector, but if they don't communicate well, the end product is not what I want. You know, our market's different here compared to the rest of the country in that we need our clients with us during the inspection. You go to other parts of the country and it's foreign for them to have an agent there and to have a client there.
Really?
It's often the inspector there by themselves doing their thing, producing a report, and then a day or two later delivering the report. And then maybe there's a conversation over the phone or some email exchanges, and that's it. Here, for the most part, we spend time with the client, educating them about the house.
Nice.
And I wish everyone would do that.
That's a huge,
But that's
huge
something
benefit.
different. We got to be, and we have the agents to thank for that. The other professionals in this industry thank for that because they've encouraged that.
Yeah.
Because again, that's different in other markets.
That's definitely huge. And, you know, I really appreciate wanting to go through. You know, of course, you have the first-time homebuyers that then bring their dad too. And I've seen some funny things like, all right, here comes the dad with all the questions. But it is good because maybe they would bring up some questions. And I'm sure you've run into it like, okay, well, yes, that is an issue, but not as big as, you know, maybe your father is dating. But, you know, it is so important to be there and to really understand it and to not just get a report and see like, okay, well, what does this really mean? Like you said, you have to be a good communicator to really provide that value so that they know exactly what they're getting into. You can't just say a checklist like, yep, looks like it checks all the boxes. Like, okay, well, what's the big picture on this? So that's really great how you emphasize that communication, having the personality and having that mentorship is super important. So,
and a lot of times you can walk away with having that communication, you can walk away as a homeowner of a to-do list for the future. Exactly. Like in the next 2 years, I remember Jason told me I should really look into this. And that's the benefit.
I'll have past customers visit me again, and you know the wife will say, "Yeah, I put your summary page up on the side of the refrigerator," and I'd make my husband cross off stuff as he got it done.
Yeah,
you know,
good.
so yeah, that's always nice.
That's great.
that's awesome. So, Jason, you've been in the business for a little bit now. One of the questions that I wanted to ask is, you know, how have home inspections changed over the years? You know, is there new technology now that's enabling you to, you know, kind of have a better look into the house?
Better look, no. Process better, probably yes. Okay. When I started, I because I came from corporate America and I had a minor in information systems. My goal immediately was to computerize what my mentor had as a 3-part inspection form. You know, it was a checklist inspection form. I quickly realized that his inspection form was the best out there, and this was a good thing. And it took me, I don't even know, 10, 15 years to finally put that on a computer. And I tried all the CAN software that was out there that everyone else is using right now and hated it all. His checklist was still better.
Wow.
But those CAN softwares were quicker. They were easier to read. My handwriting was awful. So I had to figure out a way to get his checklist onto the computer. And that's what we've done. And that's what we have now. And then from there, we did evolve to adding pictures. Most our competition is super heavy photograph centered, meaning they take 300 photographs, use half those photographs, and when you look through the report, it's a lot of photographs with a few words underneath. And most of the words is boilerplate, meaning the software already has those comments because we make them often, and they're just in there. We haven't gone that route, but instead we have our checklist that we've been using forever, and we've added photographs of things that could not easily been explained. I'm never taking a picture of the front of the furnace so that you know that it's a furnace. Okay, there's no need.
No need.
But if there's a condensate leak in that furnace that can't be easily seen or described, I'm taking a picture of that condensate leak, and it's included in the report with a little comment. Condensate leak in the furnace, repair, replace, whatever the situation is that we need to fix the situation. And so we'll have 6, 10, 20 pictures, depending on the house. I get to some of these 10,000 square foot houses, I may have to include an additional picture file because there's a lot of stuff going on there. But it's still the 21-page report that's important. The pictures are ancillary. They're just extra description for the agent to send the other agent. This is what we're talking about when we say we need to have this addressed. Here's a picture of that.
The picture should not be the replacement of the report.
Thank you. You're absolutely right. It's the report that's important. The picture is to add to it. So we have gotten some technologies that have helped. When I first started, infrared photography was big, and we invested $25,000 into a FLIR camera. And after about 18 months, we sold it because we weren't making any money off of it. Now I have a $300 add-on to my phone, and it has paid for itself.
Oh.
Wow.
It does not come out of my bag unless there's an issue that I have discovered with my eyes, nose, hands, feet. It is to figure out what's going on, not to find. Okay. And a lot of inspectors make that mistake that these tools are to find problems. They're not. They're to identify what the cause of that problem is. Moisture meters are another thing that I see inspectors misuse all the time. I take a moisture meter and I stick it into the drywall behind you, and it's going to register some moisture. Does that mean that there's a leak? No, it doesn't. We have humidity around us all the time. The average piece of wood is carrying between 8 and 25% moisture content all the time.
It's amazing.
And what does that mean? Well, it doesn't mean that it's wet. It just means it adds humidity as the barometric pressure changes and the humidity changes and temperature changes. There's all these factors in there. So that tool should be used to discover a cause, not to find an issue. And so lots of cool new tools, but don't necessarily help the process. They just enhance some of the things we're doing.
So a good inspector is not necessarily the one that has all the fancy gadgets, tools, shows you every picture of every inch of the house. They're going to be the ones that go around, don't necessarily have everything, but can still point out everything and, knows that it's there. They don't need the tools or the gadgets to show you that.
And understand how all this works. We've got so many new products on the market that homeowners buy, that contractors sell to homeowners. And if the inspector doesn't know how that's going to interact with all the other things in that house, we got a problem. Roofs are a perfect example right now. We've got lots of push towards energy efficiency and sealing up houses, and with that comes mold, mildew, and other breathing air issues. We have to ventilate. Ventilate and insulate go together. It's hard, though, when we're trying to seal up, because then we lose our ventilate. We've got to ventilate and insulate together and have to understand how those products work together. And a lot of people don't.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for this insight. So last question, do you have any advice for first-time home buyers in this market? Because we got some first-time home buyers, they are struggling a little bit with the low inventory, but do you have any good advice for them? You yourself have owned, you said, over 100 properties, which is incredible. So you have some expertise in this area. What advice, what general advice, not just with the inspection, but what advice would you give right now?
Do your research. And your first 8-10 Google results are paid for results. Understand that. and I'm sorry if people don't understand that that's how it works. Read reviews, but also understand that people pay for reviews now too. And so the best recommendation is going to be from your real estate agent, your real estate professional, your mortgage lender, your title person. Who do they know? Who have they heard from? Who have they heard good things about? not necessarily what you see online.
Great advice.
Just because it's online doesn't mean it's the truth. It's so easily manipulated there. But talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to your real estate professional. They know who to use, who's doing what. And you mentioned something earlier. If someone's available tomorrow, unless they're doing you a favor to be available tomorrow, it's not a good thing that they're available tomorrow. So.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, Jason, thank you so much.
Thanks for
This is
having me.
super
This was fun.
helpful.
Thanks, Jason.
Hopefully this is helpful for all of our first-time home buyers. You see the importance of having a home inspection. Do not skip this crucial step. So Jason, thank you so much. And then if anyone wants to contact you to get a home inspection, or maybe just for advice, if you're in the greater Lansing area, what is the best contact?
My telephone number, my office, I got a fully staffed office, 517-669-2196. That's 517-669-2196, or accurateinspectionsmi.com is our website.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jason. And thank you so much to our listeners. Hopefully this episode was helpful. If you want to leave a review, that would be great. But we will catch you next time on Real Take Real Estate.